we're here with Paul Moriday, who has kindly accepted to talk about his musical career. First of all, you prefer me to call you Paul or Paul Mario?
Paul is fine. Paul is perfect.
Paul is fine. So let's start in chronological order, right? In the early 1970s, you were a teenager in London.
Yeah.
And what were the bands and singers which you aspired to at the time?
Well, Ian Gillan at that time was my favourite singer, still is. I love that voice. Of course, is Robert Plant, the Beatles. Not so much for the technique, but just for the wonderful music they've made. Black Sabbath, of course. Black Sabbath. There's the first 4 albums, I think, to me are the best. Mm-hmm. Other things like the Yardbirds. There was Jethro Tull. Just mainly commercial stuff, but yeah, it was Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, basically everyone's core at that time.
All bands groundbreaking for that time.
Oh yeah.
Right. So, in 1975, you were one of the founding members of Maiden, of course. How did that come to be about? How did did you know Steve beforehand?
No,
Steve Harris?
No, I didn't. It's hard to remember the details, but I remember Steve being the bass player in a band playing in the Bridge House in Camden Town.
Gypsy's Kiss, perhaps?
Yes, that's right, Gypsy's Kiss. I knew the guitar player because he was maybe 1 year above me at school, but never knew him to talk to. And I saw Steve and I thought, he's bloody good. And then I heard he was only playing for 3 years. And I thought, it's bloody amazing. So that was forgotten. That passed. I was working as a motorcycle mechanic in East London, and I was outside the workshop and I saw Steve Harris and a group of guys walking past the workshop. And I never really was in a band. I just worked with guitar players in bedrooms, just sort of learning, experimenting. Because I wasn't really a singer. I just found I could sing. So I said to the group of people who basically I first focused at Steve because I've seen him before. I said, I think I'm a singer. Could I join your band? And he went, no. And I went, okay, no problem. I went back to work and
got the train station close by.
That's Maryland Station. It's Stratford.
Familiar sound of trains passing by for sure.
Yeah, and Iron Maiden's birthplace. Part of the sound.
Which is where we are speaking for those who are listening.
And a few days or maybe a week or two later, Steve says, I couldn't say anything because the singer was with me at the band. And I don't know who it was. And he says, yeah, I'm interested. Do you want to come and have a blow? So I did. They liked me, and straight away I was singing some of Steve's songs because he wrote some songs before the Iron Maiden period. They were in the old band, which he continued. So I sang, and he wanted me to stay. I seemed to fit, and then we started rehearsing, and then all the songs were being written, and we were singing. And I was singing. Mm-hmm. Singing his songs, in the main.
And that's in the year or so that you were with Maiden. Your first gig was from where we are speaking here, the Cart and Horses. Then presumably you played all over London. Did you notice an increase in the fan base towards the band in that time?
Yeah, it was getting better. It was getting better, definitely. I seem to be the only one that thinks the pubs weren't as crowded. I think there was less people than people say, but this was 40 years ago.
Yeah.
I remember it not being his fault, but it was growing. And the thing is, the band and the music was so good that I just wanted to do it. It's just, I had to do it. It was a fantastic experience for me. But the first gig we played, I wasn't actually here. It was...
The Bridge House?
No, it was... where we rehearsed.
That was in fact another question I wanted to ask. Where did you rehearse?
Well, it was near Canning Town. It was in the vicinity, because I can't remember too.
Okay.
It was in the vicinity of the Bridge House.
Vicinity of the Bridge House.
Yeah, it was a squat that Dave Lights lived in. I believe it was a convent. I believe it was a convent.
Dave who?
Dave Lights. Dave Beasley. He was with the lighting man.
Oh, I see.
He was a friend and basically he was growing with the band as well.
Okay.
Doing the lights.
Okay, in the first album of Maiden, you know what tracks there are in the first album. Which of those songs were written during the period you were with Maiden? These are the names of the songs that took your memory.
Yeah. Well, Running Free was definitely new. Remember Tomorrow.
So those came after you.
They come after me. So
after you.
Remember Tomorrow, Running Free, Phantom of the Opera, Charlotte the Harlot.
Okay.
They followed me.
Okay, so Strange World, for example, was written when you were with the band.
Yeah. That's something I don't really talk about anymore, if you don't mind.
Okay.
That's all good. That's all finished with. That's happy. That's good.
Okay. In fact, I've spoken to ex-members of Maiden who were with the band before the first album, and I sensed all of them had a sense of bitterness for being under-acknowledged.
I can't speak for anyone else. I mean,
anyway, now it's...
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for them, but I'm talking about the present because I've had this discussion and everything's fine as far as that's concerned. I don't really want to go down that road, you know, if that's cool with you. Okay,
that's fine with me. Right, and then how much? Just a last question about Maiden. The train passed by. So, how much do you think your departure from Maiden was a result of the band members' inexperience in dealing with a crisis?
Not really.
They were young, you know. Everyone was young.
What happened to me, I think, was quite reasonable. I mean, it hurt me, like losing a girlfriend that you've been in love with for maybe 5 years, and losing a girlfriend suddenly. That's the emotion. But the thing is, for instance, Steve was saying, you've got to. Mate, I've got to let you know, that was my first real band. I never ever sung with a drummer before, so I had zero experience. I just used to sing with records at home, you know, and a passion to do it. So Steve was saying, you've got to be better. You've got to be more in the audience's face. You know, you've got to be commanding, being a hero. And I agreed with him, but I didn't actually know how to make that happen. So I got warning for maybe 3 months. You know, get it together. And I wanted to, I just didn't know how to do it. And so which is the funny thing is, the worst experience was the best lesson. Because when I got that news and I felt so gutted, it changed me. The real reality of, because Iron Maiden at that time were nothing, honestly.
It's just a thing, they just started out, exactly.
It's the beginning. I know of it in excess in Australia. They were big, but I know people that talked to them and said there was no one there watching them. So everyone had to start from zero, everybody. And that was when I was in the band, that was their 0 point. So, you know, what Steve was doing was trying to make the band big. He knew what he wanted. What he wanted is what he got. He got one of the biggest bands on the planet. Yeah. Much as it hurt, much as it upset me, I learned a big lesson that day. I really did.
Which you used for this in your subsequent bands.
Yeah. So I used that emotion, I guess, in my singing.
Perfect. Speaking about the subsequent bands, it was a couple of years since you became, until you became musically active again, and then in 1980 you joined the band More. How important was More's plans to record an album in convincing you to join that band?
Well, at the time, the band was a sort of heavy blues band, I guess. And when I got the opportunity to join, when I got the opportunity to join, it was a couple of weeks later. I went to the drummer who introduced me to the band, Frank Darch. He said, I want to quit the band. I don't like it. Because at this time, Steve Harris introduced me to Judas Priest, and I found a new god in Rob Halford.
Okay.
I was
He introduced you to the music of Judas Priest.
Judas Priest,
yeah.
And that's when I wanted to be in a band that sounded like that. And this band was different. It was just different. But he persuaded me to stay, and I suppose my mix within the band changed the band into a more of a heavy rock band.
Okay.
Again, I had no experience as such, but the guitar player had some experience, and through him and through being with the band, we got the recording contract, and then we toured supporting Iron Maiden, funnily enough, which was a very good tour.
I wish I was there.
Very good tour. And and then I started to learn the ropes, but still I wasn't into business. I was into singing.
Yeah.
You know, it was the singing and all the things that go with it. But not a businessman.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've heard the current incarnation of Moore.
I have, yeah.
I don't know what you think.
I'm a bit suspicious of it because, as far as I'm concerned, no one has been in that band. As far as I'm concerned, I know someone joined, someone was in it once, and someone shook someone's hand once.
The bass player was with them before they split up for the first time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they are aware of it, but
yeah. But I'm in Australia. What could I do? You know.
Yeah.
If I lived in England, I might say, "Let me have a sing." But I live in Australia. What could I do?
In fact, this morning I was even speaking to their current singer of Moore, and he told me that in the mid-80s he was singing with a band. I believe it was the name Traitor. Anyway, but with that band he supported you when you were singing with Wildfire. He told me.
Oh, okay.
Which was interesting because he told me he really liked your singing when from the side of the stage he was seeing you sing. Incidentally, we're mentioning Wildfire. What are your memories of that band? I know there were quite some great musicians in that.
That, for me personally, was the happiest time in my career. We were great friends, very much so. Great friends, great musicians, good songwriters. At first, it was Martin Bushell and myself that did most of the writing. In fact, the demos didn't have the rest of the band in. But when I obtained this record deal, which was rather feeble, unfortunately, then we assembled the band, and within the space of 2 months we were recording our first album. So the second band, we all collectively started writing together, so the band changed a little bit.
In the second album, you mean?
In the second album, but I still liked it very much. It was melodic. It wasn't full on heavy, but also when I sung with the heavy metal commitment. There's the same fierceness, I suppose.
Yeah.
The band was changing, and there was a third album we were working on. It was changing again. But at that time, the record company, we did shows supporting Hawkwind. The album wasn't in the record shops. This is before online, so if it weren't in the shops, it couldn't be bought.
Exactly.
There was no help finding gigs.
Wasted opportunities, sort of.
So we spent 3, maybe 4 years trying, and then at the same time, I got the job singing with Sweet, and Wildfire got Gary Barden from Michael Schenker Group to sing with them.
Okay, instead of you, we'll do it.
So we both independently split at the same time. If I didn't go, I would have gone, if you know what I mean. So
that way it all worked out, sort of.
Yeah, it worked out fine, and we're still friends, and I'm seeing Martin this Sunday. The other guys are too busy to be able to meet up, but we are still very close friends.
What was it like, with regards to Sweet? What was it like joining a band that already had a reputation, already had a string of hits under its belt? What was that experience like, joining such a band?
Well, it was okay, I guess, in one way. But my opinion of Sweet wasn't as good as it was until after I sang with them. because, you know, Ballroom Blitz and all them, I didn't think they were that heavy, but the B-sides were. But at the audition, I realised Mick Tucker was an excellent drummer, you know, definitely world-class drummer, and Andy Scott as well, excellent guitar player, songwriter, and both of them sung backing vocals so well. I've never ever been with a band that could sing that well.
And then after Sweet, you left Sweet, of course, to emigrate to Australia.
Yeah.
Was it difficult to distance yourself from the English music scene after having been amongst it for so long?
Well, at first I didn't think so. I was young, and the reason I'm here actually is not to do this show. Steve filled my days for me. The reason here, I wanted to come back. I had an opportunity to come back, and I wanted to say goodbye. I wanted to say goodbye to England. I wanted to say goodbye to my friends. Because when I was 30 years of age, I went. I didn't think.
Without warning,
Yeah, I just sort of wanted to go. I didn't think. And over the years, I began to miss the country and get quite dark. I was in a dark place for a lot of years. And it was only the beginning of this year I realised what I did. I just didn't say goodbye. I didn't finish, you know, I didn't resolve my life. Because my heart's still English, but I live somewhere else, and it's so far away, and it's so expensive for someone like me to get here.
Yeah, and how does it feel coming here and seeing, you know, that photo right behind you of with yourself and your photos on the cart and horses? It's not being forgotten. How's that feeling when you see all this? And that people ask about you, even though you were with Maiden just briefly?
It's strange, actually. I've been through all them emotions in 1 month. From when it first started, I was going, why? You know, the first singer of Iron Maiden's Paul Di'Anno. To me, you know, on the record.
Indeed.
And if it was me, in another person's shoes, I don't care who was before. This was the record I bought. It's Paul Di'Anno's on it. He's the first singer. Then it changed to Bruce, you know, but Paul's still first. But I'm finding out it's a very different crowd for Iron Maiden.
Different from
anybody else, you know. They want to know. They want to know, and they're entitled to know. And I've spoke to many people on Facebook. I've spoken to some old friends. I've spoken to new friends, and they deserve to know. So I've changed my mind because it's up to me to give my best because they deserve my best. Before then, I left Facebook because every week, give me an interview, give me an interview, give me an interview, and I was hating it. I didn't want an interview, so to finish it, I killed Facebook for me. I only joined Facebook again because I wanted to meet my friends and meet my mother. You know, I never said goodbye to my mother.
Okay.
You know, that might make people understand how drastic that feels. Like Steve said, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And I went, yeah, okay. And then this is going to be this cart in the horses thing. And I might have been a little bit suspect on that, but Castro contacted me.
The manager of the venue.
Yeah, the manager of the Cart and Horses. He contacted me and said, we've got all the signatures from the original Iron Maiden, and we support the original Iron Maiden, the first. You're a part of it, you're important. And I went, well, I was in the band. It is important. If I'm the one missing, I said, can you send me the picture and I'll sign it? And that was only this year. That was only the beginning of 2018. So when Steve said about doing a Cart and Horses, I thought, okay, there's some genuine interest. I'm not just a sideshow. There's some genuine interest. Okay, I'll do it. But I still kept on thinking, why? You know, why me? You know, when you've got, you know, Paul Di'Anno, Bruce Dickinson, Blaze Bailey, you know, who am I? Nothing. That's how I felt. But since coming here and talking to people, I've spoke to Dennis Stratton and sung with him a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And people come and wanted autographs, and it felt good. And
it's nice to be respected, though.
Well, it is, but at first you've got to respect yourself.
Yeah.
You know, it was, how could I be respected if I didn't respect myself, because I've been out of the picture for such a long time. But people have been teaching me how to feel better about myself here. And so I'm going to give them every single thing I've got on Sunday. You know, friendliness, autographs, singing.
In the gig, which we'll talk about in a moment, you mentioned Blaze Bailey, Paul Diano. In 2012, you did a mini tour of Australia with them. Did you? Was that something you enjoyed doing?
I did enjoy it, but I was basically, I went there on my own, well, with a friend, a guy called Mark Snedden, who's quite important with Iron Maiden as far as Australia's concerned. We went there, and I basically, all I sung was one verse of Running Free for 4 shows.
Okay.
And of course, Paul Diano was a friend before Iron Maiden, and he was a friend during the Killers tour.
You knew him before he joined Iron Maiden?
Just a little bit. Not big friends, but yeah.
Same area of London, after all, no?
Yeah, that's right.
East End, yeah.
And because during the Killers tour, Steve Lupin, who else and me become friends from there, I got to know Paul a lot better as well after the time. So I met Paul Diano in Newcastle.
Australia.
Australia. And was talking away, and Blaze Bailey's sitting on the chair, and I thought it was a roadie. I didn't know who he was. He didn't introduce himself. No one introduced me to him.
Okay.
You know, no one introduced us.
Yeah.
It was only when at the show I realised that's who he was. You know, and I felt, oh, that's rude of me. I should have said hello to him. But so I got to meet Blaze and got to respect him as a performer, and he's very good with a crowd.
He is very good with the crowd, yeah.
But I didn't really get to know Blaze at all, really, as such. I think he's shy too, I believe. Yeah, I mean, he keeps himself quiet.
Met him, yeah.
But that was good. But really, the thing with Paul was just going up there and singing Running Free with Paul. It was a little bit good for me, but it was good for us, for the two of us, to meet up.
And which brings us to this, your current stay in London. You recorded a couple of songs with the band Air Force. Yeah, that's great.
Just one.
Oh, one song.
Yeah.
Okay, the song Band of Brothers with Air Force, which features the ex-drummer of Maiden, Doug Sampson, and also it features members who were actually present when you debuted with Iron Maiden. They were in the crowd.
Yeah,
which is a nice connection. What was it like? How doing the single after? I don't know when the last time you entered the studio was, but probably it's been quite a while.
Oh, it's been quite a while.
So what was it like doing it again after?
Well, I was nervous because I had the song for maybe three weeks or something, and the words, I didn't listen to it much because I was preparing to travel around America, so I didn't really listen to it as much as I should have done. But then I was in recording, I was guided through it, I sang it, I said, are you happy? Because if you're not, let's do it again. They were happy, but then a couple of days later they said, can you do something again? So I done parts of it again, and it was better because I had the practice. And then, like I said, I sung with Dennis, so my voice has been getting better again, because I haven't sung for 2 years.
Yeah.
I gave it away, and I haven't missed it. Cover bands.
Yeah.
You know, I was doing it for money, and money ain't enough when you do covers.
Yeah.
So I quit that 2 years ago, so this was all new. The song was, the people were, but I did my best. That's all I can do. And I fixed a few problems with it, and now I've heard it in its finished state, I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, I was just hearing it now. It sounds quite good. Right, we're lucky because the battery of the camcorder is about to finish. I have time for one more question. So, if someone would write a book about the history of metal, what would you want to be known as? What would you want your legacy to be? Your musical legacy?
It was a privilege to sing for the people.
Okay. It's a repertoire. It was a privilege.
Yeah, no, it's a privilege. It's not a. It's a privilege and an honour to be able to sing and be enjoyed.
Fantastic, Paul Murray. It's been a pleasure and an honour speaking with you.
Thank you very much.